What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Billy Collins.
Matt Doge.
And this is Magician and the Jock, a place where we have
some big-time entrepreneurs.
Big-time entrepreneurs.
We're stepping up our game today.
With
Mr. Dave Ferree. How are you, sir?
Doing good. How you guys? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming
Yeah,
on.
love the setup. Love the studio.
Love all the bricklaying we've...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a nice touch.
the
The
nicest-
fireplace.
The nicest broom closet in Carter County, dude.
I think I am going to get, for wintertime, we should get like the fake fire.
Or a real one, dude. I want to get a drone in here. I think that would be sick.
Have it
That's
fly
all the
around.
rage, dude. Might mess with the audio, but no. So a common theme of the show. We're from a small town. I remember talking with young Jock, my little brother, and he said, you know, for a small town, man, there's some pretty big movers and shakers around here.
Yeah.
And I was like, ANSON Belt, you know. Dave Ferree, I've known you for years and years. Huge Pirate supporter.
Absolutely.
Hence
love
the purple.
the Pirates. Pay homage to the Pirates with our logo and the purple. So both my father and I both went there.
The only fan in Greenville that wears a football uniform with the helmet and the pads and everything, he's all out. But
He's in
We
that
did dress up
stand.
as Pirates, my wife and I, for a game. It was close to Halloween.
Is that the,
We both, yeah, no, I haven't pulled this out for the game yet.
The swashbuckler
It was fun.
mustache.
man,
It was fun.
Dave's backstory. Well, you kind of knew of me because I played in East Carolina.
Yep. I was a huge fan before I ever met you.
He had to expand his horizon on people he follows. But no, I remember being introduced to this belt that changed my life. I remember shooting a commercial, and I'm going to add that. I'm going to have that clip in that. I think we played it at the beginning of this video.
Cut to the commercial.
It was still pretty new at that point, but I knew we loved the belt. And now, small town, big sound, right? When we think of big time entrepreneurs, we kind of think old school. They have a huge office front and all this
Connecticut
stuff.
or...
You know, a huge storefront that you can see. With you, it's 100% online.
Yep.
It's grown
And
massive.
some would say that was a massive storefront.
So, man, I appreciate you coming on. Dude. You guys are
Absolutely.
absolutely crushing it.
Well, thank you. When we first got online in 2009, people really thought I was crazy for wanting to get on into the online space. Everybody was like, well, why?
Nobody shops online.
Yeah, well, exactly. Back then, you had to build the storefront very archaic. I mean, you had to start with the cart and the
Microsoft
website.
Paint.
And yeah, I mean, it was very, it was crazy to look back at how far it's come. Now you have Shopify that you can just start a storefront in a day. But I mean, for us, it took, a lot of work.
I'm trying to remember back to what the internet was like. I mean, Facebook was still really new.
You didn't have Facebook Marketplace, or you didn't have Facebook advertising. Google advertising was in its infancy.
Amazon was probably selling books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Amazon. Yeah, exactly. So people really were not shopping online, and it's funny because people were like, "Well, I don't feel comfortable shopping online," and it's like, well, you'll give your credit card to a waiter or waitress, let them walk around the corner for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's going on with it, but yet you won't put it into a secure processor. We don't even see the card information. So it's like, I mean, it's all completely secured through credit card processors.
I'll give them cash when they get here,
Yeah.
like they're buying pizzas.
Yeah. We really had to wait for the internet to catch up for us, or catch up to us. It was slow going for many years. For a good, 5 years, we were just barely getting by with it. I was still working full time. My father was doing real estate before he really went all in on that. And then, we all know what happened in 2009, 2010 with the crash. And so he, was like, well, I think I'm going to start doing this full time. And he was, packing up orders in his little condo. And, I was doing customer service and helping with the website and stuff. And
Like Steve Jobs and Wozniacki, whatever his name was.
So.
And I remember you explained the name ANSON.
Yep. So it's kind of a double entendre where, Anson, it really comes from Anson County, North Carolina. So my father grew up in Wadesboro, which is a little bit outside of Charlotte.
Yeah.
So Anson County. So yeah, but
we're doing Carter at Belt and Buckle.
Yeah,
we're coming out with it.
but the other way that I look at it is it's a father and son company. So it was kind of cool that and son. So yeah, it's kind of a double.
So you came
entendre.
up with the ANSON?
Well, I mean,
portion of it?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought of that. I was like,
That's
you know what,
exactly
this
Why
really,
did you name it after me?
Yeah,
That's right.
This really works.
I'm working here.
Did you think, was that like a placeholder name maybe at the beginning and then it's just like it's stuck?
Well, so, it's funny you mentioned that because I was just looking back at some pictures today from the very first photo shoot that we had. And my dad was really big on, he wanted it to be the Lord Anson collection. He wanted to have he wanted to have the Lady Anson collection and the Lord Anson collection. And so we were going to have the men's line, the women's line. And sure enough, on our first straps, it said Lord Anson collection. So if anybody out there still has one of those, I would love to see it. But it's going to be a collector's item. You can sell it on eBay, I'm
That's
sure.
right.
But yeah, the Lord Anson collection. I wasn't big on just the branding of that. I'm a big marketing guy. I love marketing. I love branding and logos. And I just was like, this isn't going to work. One day, he probably woke up and all of a sudden it's just Anson. And
yeah,
we dropped
it reminds you of Facebook, because originally it was the Facebook. And they dropped the.
Yeah.
I still say it, like, get on the Facebook, or the Googles.
The Googles.
Your dad started it, and you were working locally, right?
Yep. This was going to, at first we were living in Raleigh. Was working for the real estate company there, doing marketing and stuff with them, and then just was doing this on the side. And so kind of building the business, building the brand. We moved here, and so that was, so I was there for about 2 years or so.
You can't take a Carter County girl out.
I know. So my wife
long.
wanted to move back. My wife's from here. She was like, I want to move back to the beach. She found a great job, and I said, you know what, that's great. Let's do it. So we moved here in 2010, and then I was working for Big Rock Sports in 2010.
Another massive company in this small town. I mean,
they're
big company.
Arguably the largest wholesale distributor in the nation. So was working for them. Was at first in customer service, and then got promoted to the marketing coordinator for our Canadian. They just bought a Canadian division.
Okay.
Turned out they didn't need much help with the Canadian division. They were doing so much business there. I didn't have much work to do, so I was doing projects which. And this is kind of crazy, but I was, allocating all the guns and ammo for the dealers. So this was 2012-ish or so. And if you remember back
allocating all the guns.
I haven't really talked about that much.
A lot of people in Newport, I've been allocating some guns and ammo in my backyard.
It was crazy. We had to allocate and put, say, okay, here you get, 20 boxes of this, you get that, and it was all based on spreadsheets and Excels and doing VLOOKUPs and that's not my forte. So
I bet business was booming.
It was
after
crazy.
08.
This was 2012. So
okay, gotcha.
So 2012, and Obama got elected and stuff, and things got really tight with ammo and stuff like that. So it was pretty hectic. And
that was the big battle between the NRA and
it was.
Didn't he say something like Christians clinging to their guns and Bibles? And if I was Big Rock Sport, I'd be like, we're about to sell out. This is gonna be awesome.
Business was booming. Yeah. So I was doing that, and they realized that, okay, this guy's not a numbers guy. He's like, maybe we should get somebody in here that's,
he comes up with witty sayings for marketing.
Went to school for this. So, eventually I got laid off. I told them when they brought me in for the exit interview, I was like, this is great. I was like, I've been wanting to quit for months. And they were like, really? You're okay with this? And I was like, absolutely. I'm going to dive in headfirst to Anson. I was like, I get a severance, right? And they were like, yeah. I was like, okay. It's like, we're getting, my wife always said, she said, you can't get fired and you can't quit. And so I got laid off. So it was perfect. So I dove in head first, and
you've been doing
haven't looked back since.
Anson was kind of your side hustle. You were doing with your dad.
Yeah. He got out of real estate and was just doing Anson and honestly just barely making it with it. I mean, we weren't making, we would have a couple of orders a day maybe. And he definitely was pouring everything that he had, made and worked for, pouring it back into the business. And there was a point where he was like, look, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I'm going to hand it over to you and you can do what you want. And he was going to go do something else. And he was this close to just giving it all to me.
If you could go back, would you talk him into look, it's not going to work. Trust me, just sign right here.
I mean, I'd be making a lot more money, but at the same time, I couldn't have done it without him. What he's brought to the table and the work that he's put into it. So, I'm glad it all worked out and he stuck with it. But it's funny because he was this close to walking away.
I don't know if it's a story or a book. It's called 3 Feet from Gold. And it was basically some people were prospecting and they gave up, sold the rights, and it was 3 feet from gold. Yeah. And it's just amazing how many people, I mean, it's impossible to know because they walked away. But I think we all would love to do something with our family. It's a novel idea. More times than not, it blows up. Will you share kind of the origin story of Anson?
The concept of a micro-adjustable holeless belt, and just to kind of give the viewers kind of an idea of what it is. So this is a micro-adjustable holeless belt. So instead of 5 holes 1 inch apart, you have 30 plus options 1/4 of an inch apart. So a special mechanism within the buckle interacts with the track system here. So as the strap slides through the buckle, it catches, and you hear those 1/4 inch adjustments. So that way you're able to get the perfect fit every time. You're not in between holes. It's not
in
too
other
tight.
words, you're not taking your old leather belt
punching holes into it with a nail.
or wearing it and having it to be way too damn tight
Exactly.
or way too loose.
Yep.
It really is amazing.
And so the concept's been around for 50 plus years in Asia and Eastern Europe, but they were keeping it a secret from the rest of the world because you just did not see them in the U.S. And so my sister had won a trip. She was a travel agent, won a trip to China, and my father went with her just to kind of go along with her. And it's funny, before he left, he was like, I'm going to find something I can make $1 million off of. It was so, because we're like, who thinks like that? But my dad's always been an entrepreneur. He's always, just kind of
He probably said it with some clarity.
Oh, he was serious.
Like,
I mean,
that's
what he was going to do,
yeah,
and
that's
but
awesome.
He really didn't know, it was the last night that he was there, and he tells this story, it was the last night he was there. He was kind of drawn to a shop. He went straight to the belts, had walked into this shop in China in a market, went straight to the belts. He said he was just drawn to it, right to the back of the store. He started looking at them, and he was like, wow. He's like, well, where are the sizes? And they're like, no sizes, trim to fit, so he was like, okay, so we got 2 of them, one for me, one for him. And he didn't really know what he had, and he got it, he put it in a suitcase. He didn't have scissors, so he didn't try it, he didn't size it. And with all of our belts, they come in an extra long length of 55 inches. And then from there, you try it on, see how much you need to trim from the raw end, and trim it to fit your exact waist.
You guys could sponsor someone on my 600-pound life.
Yeah, oh yeah.
When I get
it'd be
first
great.
off, I'm like,
and
this is amazing.
Yeah, and it's gratifying being able to trim those inches as you go. But so he didn't know what he had till he got home, and he tried it on, he sized it, he tried it, and he click, 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 and he was like, wow, where has this been my whole life? This is the perfect fit. Every guy has struggled with being in between holes, making, holes in your belt. And it's funny you say that, because when he called me and said, hey, David, I've got this belt. It's amazing. It's micro. He didn't say micro-adjustable. We came up with that later. But he was like, it has a track system. And he was like, you got to try this out.
Were you like, what the hell?
No, well, the thing is, I was looking at my belt that I was wearing at the time. I had all the holes in it were all handmade.
Yeah.
Because when I bought it too big. And so I didn't feel like going back to the store exchanging it. I was in college. I was like, you know what? I was like, I'll just cut it.
Yeah.
So I cut off the end. It was way too long. I cut off the end of the belt. I even rounded the edge. I painted it with a Sharpie. And then I made like 5 holes, 1 inch apart, myself. And so I looked down, I'm like, yeah, I could use that belt. And so, he sent it to me, and I tried it.
You never tuck your shirt in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it was terrible. I looked back at, pictures and stuff, and I'm like, golly, I can't, I can't believe I was wearing that. And so he sent it to me, and I was like, I can get behind this. I was like, this is actually a really good idea. Yeah. But then it's like, well, how are you going to do it? Who are you going to, where, and I asked him, I said, well, where are you going to sell these? And he said, I'm going to sell them online. And I was like, well, what do you know about selling online? He said, nothing, but you're going to help me.
Yeah.
And so
that's where you come in, you damn millennial.
And I was like, okay. I was like, and I didn't know anything about it either. And, I knew that online was, it was trending that way. I could just feel that online,
that's where people were hanging
e-commerce.
out.
Yeah, that people were going to start getting there. I was on Facebook back when it, you needed a .edu. Yeah, you needed that .edu to sign up. And so I knew, I was like, online, it's trending that way. So, and I had been, bought stuff on eBay and stuff like that, but, really didn't do a whole lot of shopping on there. But anyway, so, let's do it. And worked with an engineer to kind of redesign. There was a lot of things we didn't like with that buckle. It was just felt very, I don't know. It was
Chinese.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but it was just a little different, And so I was like, let's redesign this. Let's change this. Let's change the latch. Let's change the thing on the back and the different shapes. So just kind of made it our own, and worked with an engineer to do that, and then a global trade broker to connect with the factory. Because back then, even getting online and searching for factories was hard. You just didn't see a lot of factories that are just posting that they make these kind of belts and that kind of thing. So worked with a global trade broker that, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with how those guys work, but they have connections with factories.
Like, oh yeah, dude.
They basically work with factories.
Matt yet before, but he knows everything.
I know something about everything.
Yeah, there you go. So they work with factories around the world, and they basically have connections for any kind of, anything you want to make. And so we were linked up with some guys in Colorado that were global trade brokers, but they take 10%. So if you place, $100,000 order, they're getting their 10,000. So,
whether you sell any of them or not.
Exactly. Yeah. So, so we did that for many years, and then, eventually factories start reaching out to you. few, and we were able to find our own, and have been working with our factory since, probably 2014 or so.
Wow.
So, same guy and same factory, and it's been an incredible relationship. But
Holy
so
cow.
they don't all turn out like that, but our guy's been great.
So when you started in 2009, the perk that I could see from starting so early is that the AdWords are pretty cheap back then for Google.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we weren't even doing that.
AdWords even been
Yeah, I mean, I
invented
think
yet at that
I
point?
think it had.
Not yet.
It had. We just, no one was searching for it though.
Yeah.
It had such low search terms that you couldn't. And I think I remember that from the beginning, that I was trying to bid on some stuff, but it was like no one was calling them ratchet belts, holeless belts. We made up the term MicroAdjustable Belt. So, no one was searching for it. So you couldn't really bid it. You could bid on like men's belts, but then you're competing with
Like
JCPenney and
Belk,
Belk.
yeah.
And then you've got to change their mind in the fact that they're looking for a regular belt. What is this?
Yeah.
And so it was really hard. But, funny story, the way that we really, I was talking about, at first it was all friends and family, people that we knew. That's how you kind of get going with
This
business.
podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Hi, Mom.
yeah. So, that's who was supporting us at first. But I was telling Matt about this, and I didn't tell him the story because I wanted to save it for this. But I talked about, getting laid off with Big Rock Sports. But I actually, this is another reason why I was determined to make it, because I never wanted to work for anyone else again. I had been laid off from the real estate company that I was working with, because that was like 2009 or so, and the crash was happening. They saw it coming. They were cutting, trimming the fat, and I was like an assistant to the marketing director. So
I am promoting you from assistant to the regional manager to assistant regional manager.
they're like, all right, your assistant's got to go. So I ended up hiring her to do our marketing for ANSON. I knew she knew about marketing, and she had a lot of connections in Raleigh and different magazines, that kind of thing. So I linked up with her. She got a way for me to get on as a studio guest on the Bob and the Showgram show. So are you familiar with Bob and the Showgram out of Raleigh? They've been there for decades.
If I heard their jingle or name,
so yeah, they're like
I immediately think of Bob 93.3, but that's not. The right thing,
not that. But they had this show called Bob and the Showgram. It was huge, biggest show in Raleigh morning drive at the time. And so she was like, I got you on as an audience guest, and it's up to you, to handle the rest. I don't know how you're gonna maybe be able to get on air and say something. I don't know. She's like, but you're in the audience. So I was like, okay, all right, let me do this. So I knew there were 3 hosts, and I brought 3 belts, and I'm in the studio audience. There's only 10 of us at a time. On Fridays they had a live studio audience. So I went in there, and they're like, first question, they're like, does anyone want to play a game? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And so they're like, okay, you and you. And so they brought us up there, and they sat us behind the mic, and I'm like, okay, here we go. This is my chance. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but and then we went to a commercial break, and I was like, hey guys, I brought you something. My father and I started a belt company. It's a micro-adjustable holeless belt. Let me show you. And so I'm giving them my elevator pitch, and they're like, wow, this is crazy. This is really cool. They were in mid sentence, and they came back. And it's like, they came back, and they're like, well, guys, we're back here.
It's just everybody's crotches.
Yeah,
they're putting belts on.
Yeah, they were like,
what the hell happened in that commercial?
Yeah, so Bob's like, hey, he's like, I've got a guest here now. What was your name again? And what did you say the company that you? And I was like, David Ferree with ANSON Belt and Buckle, ANSON Belt.com. But and gave my whole spiel and talked for a good 15, 30 seconds,
Wow.
about the belt on air to their radio audience. And it was free press. So for the first time, and I had friends texting me as I was in the studio, they're like, dude, I just heard you on Bob and the Showgram, and it was so cool, because we finally, for the first time, we're actually getting it out there, getting the concept. And it's always been a concept that if you tell somebody about it, they're like, I need this. This is really cool. So we had orders coming in, like I said, we were doing maybe one a day before, not even, before that. And then, we got, 20 something orders that day, and it was just like, holy cow, this is amazing. I just need to tell more people about it. So it was really proof of, it gave us some proof of concept that okay, this is, here's
that's
a
a classic case of just getting out there.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Throwing yourself into
Exactly.
the fire.
We talk about, the entrepreneur's journey, which even if you work for someone, you can have an entrepreneurial mindset, which is what you had.
Yeah.
I mean, you ask most entrepreneurs, hey, would you hire yourself? And you'd be like, hell no.
Yeah.
I'm the worst employee ever. But we did a video, and I coined it the obscurity epidemic. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows who you are. Half the battle, hey, this is the greatest belt ever.
Yep.
You got to get it into enough people's hands.
Yep.
I mean, every business wants to be referral based, right?
It's the cheapest form of advertising.
Yeah, and
You
they're
know
your
what I mean?
best.
Because
They're your best
people,
salespeople.
if your customers are your advocates.
When you got Nate, my older brother got him Dude.
Oh,
I don't know
great
how many
customer. Shout out
orders
Nate. Thank you so much, man.
He's gotten it for everybody.
Yeah.
When I got married, all my
Yeah.
groomsmen, it's the product I would compare. It's like Zig Ziglar. He has an amazing way of saying something that's ridiculously obvious after you hear it. Same thing with the belt.
Yeah.
At first, you're like, I'm never going back.
Yeah.
And I can imagine your dad being in China, seeing this, and it's like,
what is
it
it?
just makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, it almost makes too much sense that
Yeah.
it's already got to be in bulk.
Yeah,
Let me
exactly.
grab some just in case.
Exactly. He assumed he could just buy some more. He was like, where can I find these? And he couldn't find them anywhere. He talked to friends, family. They were like, we never heard of this.
Yeah.
So
And
it makes it pretty easy, though, when you have pride in your product.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are afraid to go out there and scream from the streets, hey, look at me, look at me.
Yeah.
But if you have something that's worthy and it's valuable
Yeah.
and will change people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean-
I know. And it's crazy to say that. People are like,
But
I hear it all the
it's
time.
the truth, though.
I hear it all the time. And it's like, people that haven't worn it are like, oh, yeah, it's just a belt. But it's like, I mean, if you struggle with being in between holes of a belt, like, it's a game changer.
It's just
Yeah.
it's an annoyance.
Yeah.
You're not pulling yourself out of the depths of despair, but it's like, it's,
but
it's
for a lot of guys,
exciting,
it's
yeah.
given them a lot more confidence as well.
Sure.
And so, especially as we've gotten into the men's style space and working with YouTube influencers that are guys.
Hence the mustache.
Yeah. So those guys have really come, they've reached out a lot and said, hey, this belt really gave me confidence. And like even had guys that like wore it to an interview and stuff. And they're like, I swear, they're like, I don't know if it was the belt, but the guy interviewing one time like recognized the belt and was like, that's an ANSON belt, it just gave him a lot more confidence.
Man, I mean, you look at somebody, what do you look at? You look at their shoes,
Yep.
their belt,
Yep.
and their watch.
Oh, I mean, it can mess up. If your belt is janky, it can mess up your entire
Dude.
look.
Everything.
When I was in college and we had to dress up for,
Yeah.
like on game day,
Yeah.
oh my God, you get that off the rack suit and you're like, shit, I don't have a belt. You
Yeah.
have like your old
I
church
know.
belt that you had forever.
I really, now that we can do more with college players making, I need to link up with ECU and really get.
we
and
need to talk. I'm
them
doing
all.
some stuff with that.
Yeah, get them all belts. And because it's a problem, especially with football players, they're fluctuating so much between
Off-season,
seasons,
on
off seasons,
season,
on
yeah.
seasons. So for them to be able to use the same belt throughout the year when they've probably gone up and down 15, 20 pounds, would be huge. So
Yeah.
I need to link
Up to this point, I always kid, I'm like fashion and function. We've talked about
yeah,
the function
yeah.
side
Oh,
of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
The function is honestly what's going to get most dudes to tell other dudes about it. It's
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
not going to be like, hey, Billy, you're going to look, your confidence, you are going to look so great
Yeah.
with this belt.
Yeah.
If you just said, we're just going to make this like the Swiss Army knife belt, it's
Yeah.
just going to be functional, it wouldn't have exploded. But
No.
one thing about ANSON
Exactly.
that I know, and Nate coined this, my older brother, he's like, man, it's kind of like the iPhone of belts.
And I love it. I love that comparison.
You
Yeah.
buy an iPhone, you get that beautiful
Yeah,
box.
and that's this is really what made him kind of feel like that, I think. And you've got this kind
like
of
satisfying.
slow pull out, yeah, super satisfying.
That's what she said.
But we put a lot of pride in our packaging and really
From the
love-
very beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. We used to do a wax stamp. So
Yeah,
when
dude,
he first got it, he probably got
And it
with
came
a
in
wax
like the
stamp.
bag, too. I remember it was in the bag.
Yep. So we still have those travel bags, but I was actually hot wax stamping every single order.
Big
So-
Game of Thrones fan.
Yeah, so this is way before Game of Thrones,
The books.
and we were hot waxing every single order. So I literally had a glue gun, and I would take a stick of purple wax and had a hot glue gun and would put it on there, take a stamp, and seal the tissue.
Was this when it was Lord Anson?
Yeah, well this was just it was yeah.
Dearest customer.
Yeah, so, yeah, with a quail pin.
Yeah.
But so we were hot wax stamping, and then eventually we were doing so many orders that I had to start pre-making the wax stamps. So I would do those in like sheets of 100 and just wax stamp them, and then I put some sticky stuff on the back, and then that just got to be too much. So we went to this.
I'm guessing your dad he sounds like a super ambitious guy, abundance mindset guy, and you come in and you're like the young whippersnapper marketer. Like
Yeah.
we have all the best ideas.
Yeah.
But was that, I mean, I could see that being you. You're like,
Yeah.
the product's great. Let's just make it look awesome too.
Exactly. I love branding and logos and just marketing and that kind of thing. So to me, it was really special and important to build a brand that I was proud of. Everything from the logo to the name to the just kind of the overall feel of the brand, I wanted to be just top notch and something that I was proud of. So that's kind of been a passion of mine, is just building a brand that I love, and so I definitely took a lot of pride in that. And there's a lot of things that that he probably would have done that I'm like, no, we're not doing that. This is,
he would have made belts for himself, for his. But you're reaching out to
exactly. So, and that's kind of where, like I said, the Lord answered. And I was just like, it's just not going to work as we move forward. And today, it just wouldn't be working. It just would not be the same.
So were you bought in from the beginning, or did it take you a while?
No, I mean, I was bought into the concept as soon as he told me. I was
that
like,
first belt from China.
I was like,
game
this
changer.
is great. We just have to figure out, we have to redesign it. I was like, I'm not going to sell. He was just going to sell the one just like he had gotten from China, and I was like, I can't get
like
behind
fly
it.
there every year with a duple bag.
So
where's that little shop?
So I just I kind of nixed that, and I was like, we've got to redesign it. So yeah, I mean, I was all in from that point that we started to build the brand.
So you're working with Anson for a couple years, but you're also it was your side hustle.
I was working full time for a good 5 years,
And during that time, especially while you're at Big Rock Sports, and you're probably doing a lot of stuff that's like, it's paying
I'm doing
the bills
customer
in the
service
meantime.
at my desk, honestly. It's like what I was doing. I was like answering emails. Probably why I got laid off, but no.
Wait,
So
you can
like,
read
man,
my
we can't-
emails?
yeah, so
This ammo's not going anywhere. But damn, if Anson Belts isn't
Who is
skyrocketing.
this Anson?
I was definitely doing a lot of on the side and at night. I mean, it was just, and especially while we were getting the site going and really trying to, and then when we kind of had a rebranding and really changed everything about 2016 or so. It was a lot a lot of work to totally rebrand it. Went away from the wax stamp. We used to have a wax stamp logo that kind of homage to the packaging, and then went to this logo, which is really kind of our traditional buckle. So if you notice, it's really that traditional style buckle there, and the cutout is the logo.
It's brilliant because what are dudes looking for? But for ourselves, but it's also there's Christmas, Father's Day.
Man.
It's like, how do you
Makes the
buy
perfect
something?
gift.
I think I told you
absolutely,
that because I remember when it's your marketing brain. You're great at packaging stuff physically, but also, 2 strap, or was it 3 straps, 2 buckles? I remember that. Was that kind of like a keystone?
It was, and that was huge for us for a lot of reasons. One, because you get your average order value up. So instead of somebody going on there and just buying one belt, if we only sold one single complete belt as a belt, it'd be $49.99. That'd be our average order value.
Yeah.
But because we came up with the box set, and honestly, that was my dad. He was like, how about we just sell? And that's really because of that. We started with like 3 straps and 2 buckles.
It was like brown, black, and
and like a tan, and those were the only 3 straps we had, and the only we only had like 2 buckles, and so or I think maybe we had 3 buckles, but we made it where it was where you could choose 3 straps and 2 buckles, or 3 buckles and 2 straps, and
which makes what 6
six different possible combinations. So for one, your average order value gets up, so now it's a $99 dollar average order value, and then it also gets them thinking about mixing and matching. So, off the bat, they're thinking about, well, I can use this buckle with this strap, and I can use that strap with this buckle. And they're like, well, and also I need this other color strap, so I can just get that single strap, and I can mix it with all of my buckles. So it gets them thinking about mixing and matching, and really gets them, also thinking about a gift, because they're like, this comes beautifully packaged. And that was a big thing, is, making sure that the packaging was just absolutely gorgeous. But as soon as you get it, you're like, I could give this to somebody as a gift, whether it's a client or your father or your brother or, an uncle. Dude, makes a great gift.
We started looking forward to like groomsmen's gifts.
Yeah.
It was a no-brainer, and also you're taking kind of an awkwardly shaped thing, a belt. Yeah. Giving it some structure that it can be wrapped.
You know
what I mean? Something that
comes
simple.
in the box that's just so nice.
It's like the same box that you'd get golf balls in.
Yeah,
it's basically the same dimensions.
And our box set is simply 3 times this, so it's longer, has 3 spots for buckles, 3 spots for straps, and comes in a nice box set.
And I just don't. I think Anson's the only belt buckle that is branded for me that I've seen. It's not like you see a plethora of belt buckle brands out there.
Belts are an afterthought.
The industry that we're in, like in the microadjustable belt, the whole belt industry is really competitive. It's crazy how competitive it is. But other than that, you don't see any, and unless they get in front of you and like on a Facebook advertising or something, you're not going to see or know about them. You know? So you normally don't hear of other belt companies. You know your major brands that also carry belts, but there's not like a company that you're like, wow, they only do belts. But within our industry, it's crazy seeing over these last 12 years or so. They've really, I've seen them pop up all over the place.
A lot of grifters,
There's some crazy stories with I don't know, a lot of people that may be watching are like, well, hey, aren't they the ones that were on Shark Tank? And no, we weren't. But I remember the day that that guy went on Shark Tank, and he took the same exact concept. And funny story, he's actually cousins with one of our other biggest competitors, and so he had created the company behind his cousin's back, and went on Shark Tank. We were all three competitors for like 2 or 3 years. He went behind his back, went on Shark Tank, and the whole time that side of the family had no idea. I read all this on Reddit, like someone aired him out. And he had no idea that he had started a company behind his cousin's back, went on Shark Tank. So the first that other guy heard about it was people texting him being like, yo, your cousin's on Shark Tank selling your belt. And he's like,
it wasn't even
what?
his belt.
Well, it was his company, the guy's company, but he had created this side another company, and the one guy knew that he had a competitor.
Yeah.
But he didn't know that it was his cousin. And so we all knew.
Remember when I was talking about going to business with your family?
Yeah,
Great,
that's why.
So he went on there, and they were like, and I was getting the same texts. People were like, dude, there's somebody on Shark Tank with your belt. Everybody had told me, you need to go on Shark Tank. And I was just like, yeah, I don't know,
It's not cheap.
Sure enough, that the guy did it. He went on Shark Tank. Damon ended up backing it. But that guy was just a complete snake in the way that he portrayed it, as if he didn't have any competitors, as if he didn't really even know of anybody else doing it. And I mean, just completely.
And the whole time his cousin's doing it.
Yes. Completely crazy. So, that was kind of wild. But at the same time, I say, a rising tide lifts all ships.
Sure.
And so we instantly started that night or the next day, I created a blog post that was like, holeless belt on Shark Tank, ? Exclamation point, ? Like, holy cow, created a blog post so that when people, and then just went all into it and talked about how we had been in business for, 3 years before this, and talked about all that. But I knew that searches would start coming in for holeless belt Shark Tank. And so I instantly wanted to start getting those organic searches for that.
That's brilliant.
It brought in a ton of traffic, and it still does. It's crazy. Even today, like, we still get traffic from that blog. That's kind of wild, but it's fairly competitive.